What's going on, guys? This is Sortily Product News. This is a story of the LA County Sheriff's Department covering up the fact that 8 officers took pictures of the remains and the crash site of Kobe Bryant and his daughter, along with 7 others. Now, listen to how the sheriff explains this. And you tell me if this is not misconduct. You tell me this is not a cover-up. You decide. I'm just going to give you the information. A trainee was showing off the pictures at Baja Bar and Grill. Now, if a trainee has the pictures, that's how open it was in the sheriff's department. 3 days later, a complaint was filed. The crash was on the 26th of January, so the 29th. He has to have at least known about it by the 29th, because that's when the complaint came in. So by the 29th, 100%, Sheriff Villanueva knew, a man who was elected to lead the largest sheriff department in the nation. Now, the written complaint came in 3 days after the helicopter crash that killed Kobe Bryant and his daughter and 7 others at the Baja California Bar and Grill in Norwalk. A young Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy was showing gruesome photos taken at the scene of the tragedy. He was working the day of the helicopter. The helicopter went down and took pictures of the crash site and bodies, the author wrote. The report filed just after midnight on a contact form on the Sheriff's Department's website generated an email to the Sheriff's Information Bureau team handles. From that point on, for nearly 5 weeks, the leadership of the Sheriff's Department tried to keep a lid on the episode instead of following the normal investigative protocols, even after determining that several more deputies had obtained photos according to the interviews. The efforts to avoid public disclosure of the deputies' actions began in earnest with an order from Sheriff Alex Villanueva to have them quietly delete the photos and move that some inside the department, a move that some inside the department as well as legal experts said could amount to destruction of evidence. Of course, it's destruction of evidence, but that's why now you see why we need oversight committees, civilian oversight committees, because left to their own devices, human beings will justify their actions, they'll sweep it under the rug. He's not gonna start a big firestorm over this, which is going to end up making him lose his job. That's just not how the human brain works. So that's the need for oversight committees, because if you give me my book report to grade myself, I'm getting an A every single time. And that's what this is tantamount to. After the Times disclosed last week that the deputy shared the photos, Villanueva said he would launch an investigation. But now there are mounting demands for an independent inquiry into the matter, the latest in a series of scandals to afflict the nation's largest sheriff's department. So here's the timeline. January 26th, the helicopter accident. January 29th, the misconduct report filed with the LAPD Sheriff's Department. Now, I understand that Sheriff Villanueva is probably not in the mailroom or in front of a computer getting these Gmails, right? Or emails. But with this something this sensitive, I'm sure it's sent up the ladder so he knows. And if it isn't, it's also his fault, because he's the one that is put these people in power to delegate decision making. So, Sheriff Villanueva, you found out about these pictures on or around January 29th. Why did it take 5 weeks until you opened an investigation? Because the media found out about it. You know what he did as soon as he found out that these pictures were taken? He didn't discipline any of the officers. He didn't bring it to the police board. He didn't bring it to the mayor's attention. He had them erase them immediately and discreetly. When the general public does that, it's called destruction of evidence. That's why you cannot investigate yourself, because there's a conflict of interest. You have a bias. You cannot see things clearly. Now, let's read from The Guardian, which is a newspaper that interviewed Sheriff Villanueva. This comes from The Guardian on March 3rd. Alex Villanueva says 8 LA County sheriffs took graphic photos of the Kobe Bryant helicopter crash scene, but he ordered them deleted. That was my number one priority, was to make sure those photos no longer exist, Villanueva told NBC News for a story Monday. We identified the deputies involved. They came to the station on their own and had admitted they had taken them and they had deleted them. We are content that those involved did that. The sheriff said he learned the week of the crash that as many as 8 deputies might have been involved. We communicated in no uncertain terms that the behavior is inexcusable, Villanueva said. I mean, people are grieving for the loss of their loved ones. To have that on top of what they've already gone through is unconscionable. So if it's unconscionable, what were the penalties there? Villanueva said the sheriff's department doesn't have any specific policy about taking photographs on personal cell phones, but he plans to change that situation and would like to see the state law making it illegal to take unauthorized photos of accident scenes depicting dead bodies. Villanueva told KABC TV that the deputies are facing an investigation and possible disciplinary action. He wouldn't specify the kind of actions they might face. The sheriff's department has a policy against taking and sharing crime scene photos, but it doesn't apply to accident scenes, the sheriffs told KBCBS. Kobe, his daughter, and 7 others passed away when the helicopter crashed in Calabasas hillside in cloudy weather. They were on their way to the Kobe Bryant's facility in Thousand Oaks, California, all right outside of Los Angeles, California. The Los Angeles Times reported last week that the public safety source with knowledge of the events had seen one of the photos on the phone of another official in a setting that was not related to the investigation of the crash. He said the photos showed the scene and the victim's remains. Only the county coroner's office and the NTSB, National Transportation and Safety Board, were authorized to take photographs of the crash scene after dealing with grieving family members. It's just a sense of betrayal to learn that other photos were taken, the sheriff told KABC TV, describing it as a punch in the gut. We're content they came on their own. You would have thought they did a good thing and not took pictures of young kids' remains and adults' remains. Anyways, on that same day, March 3rd, this is coming from the Daily Mail, LA deputies showed Kobe Bryant's helicopter crash, gruesome photos to friends at a bar. Cops destroyed the image in a cover-up. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office knew deputies took graphic photos of the wreckage of the helicopter crash that killed NBA legend Kobe Bryant. The department also kept quiet about the discovery for 5 weeks and says the images were destroyed under orders from Sheriff Alex Villanueva. That, however, amounts to a destruction of evidence, say some inside the department as well as legal experts. There are now calls for an independent investigation into the matter, although Villanueva says he's launched an internal probe. We're going to grade our own homework. Look at that. We got 100. Imagine that. Having the Villanueva lead or call for an internal affairs investigation, meaning that the department will investigate itself, is not how you do this. Peaky swearing with the officers that all the pictures are gone. That's not how you do it. You have an independent investigators come in, because left to his own devices, again, Sheriff Villanueva, ahead of the largest sheriff's department in the nation, knew about it on January 29th. Maybe January 30th at the latest, but it was filed a complaint 3 days after the crash when this young trainee, so it's not like these 8 officers were covering up. It was a well-known thing in the department. If the trainee had pictures of it. And what's happening when they're taking pictures on the scene? I'm sure they're not hiding their phone. I'm sure they're buddy all taking pictures, you know. 2 firefighters also got caught taking pictures. Los Angeles firefighters. So happens on the 26th. 3 days later, the 29th, the report is made. Misconduct report. Let's say it gets to the sheriff on the 30th. He doesn't even talk about opening up a probe until March 2nd. Why? Because the media found out. And you'll hear him in the interviews. We told them to step forward, and they stepped forward out of their own volition, and they said they would erase those messages. He talks about the officers as if they did something good. And then he goes on to talk about, well, there's nothing in our policies. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. You cannot use your personal cell phone for work matters. That's why anytime an officer pulls out the personal cell phone in the course of their duties, it's FOIA requestable. It is in your policies. I've already looked in there. Of course, there's not specific, if there's a helicopter crash, he goes to say that there's nothing specific if there's an accident. Can't take pictures of crime scenes, but there's nothing in there about taking pictures of accidents. Well, I'm sure there's nothing in there about kicking cats, but yeah, you can't do it. I'm sure there's nothing in your policies and procedures about tripping old ladies when they walk across the street, but you can't do that either. Yeah, sorry, Bob. I know you want to take a picture of the remains of 9 people, but I don't think it's the best idea. You know, do we really have to put every single situation that could possibly arise in the policies and procedures? It's in there. You cannot use your personal cell phone for something that's happening through the course of your duties. In other words, the only reason they are at that accident site is because they are sheriffs. So you can't not take out your phone and film something in the course of your duties. That's why you can FOIA request officers when they tape you with their personal cell phones, because they're using it through the course of their duties. That's how I was able to get the lady at the film office's personal cell phone footage. Because the only reason why me and her are coming into contact is because she works in the film office. I came to the film office. I'm a citizen. She's getting paid by taxpayers' money, right? The only reason why we're coming in contact is through the course of her duties. And if she wants to take out her personal cell phone, it's no longer personal, because you're using it the course of your duties and you're a public servant. So you've just turned your cell phone into a tantamount body camera. That's basically what it is now, because it has to be eligible for me to get. And because the chain of custody is so sketchy, that's another reason I used to make sure they got me that footage. Anyways, enough about that. Any conspiracy theorists, I don't know if you knew this, but that's all getting swept under the rug. Once it's in internal affairs, you never get to know. I've had cases in internal affairs. They never tell me the outcome, and I'm the complainant, which I'm going to get into. I'm going to show you guys from A to Z. You're going to see one of my biggest videos. I'm going to take you through what actually happened in that video with the body camera footage, and then I'm going to take you inside of me giving my affidavit. And I'm going to show you how the whole process works from A to Z. Because I FOIA requested my affidavit, and I have it for a while. And I've constantly called this organization, asked them what's going on with this case. Who's my investigator? They don't even bother calling me back. Okay, well. And I'm not the only person they've had problems with. Other people have contacted me. Not only that, other people have contacted me about doing stories on them. Regardless of me. Anyways, forget about that. We'll never find this out just because it's internal affairs. Now it gets buried. People forget about it. It's over. Now that the C virus is here, forget about it. It's done. You'll never figure it out. But for you conspiracy theorists, did you know this? There you go, sheriff of the largest sheriff's force in the nation. And It's volume 3, chapter 1. Look that up. Anyways, here's something you guys might not have known. For all you conspiracy theorists out there, did you know this? Watch. So if you look here, this is from Yahoo. Kobe Bryant trying to settle Black Mamba battle with Pharma company. It's dated January 6, 2020. About 20 days before the horrific crash. Kobe Bryant is trying to hash out a settlement in the battle with a big pharma company over Black Mamba before heading to trial. According to court documents obtained by The Blast, Kobe is informing the court he is attempting to work out a deal with the pharma company High-Tech Pharmaceuticals over his famous nickname. The document reads, the parties are actively engaged in negotiations for the settlement of this matter. Kobe, Inc. requests that this proceeding be suspended. The document reads, the parties are actively engaged in negotiations for the settling of this matter. Kobe, Inc. requests that the proceedings be suspended for 30 days to allow the parties to continue their settlement efforts. Back in December, the NBA legend suffered a huge setback in the battle over Black Mamba. The United States Patent and Trademark Office denied Bryant's attempt to wrap up the battle. Bryant has been fighting the pharmaceutical company High-Tech Pharmaceuticals for years. High-Tech has been attempting to trademark Black Mamba Hyper Rush. Bryant is fighting them being able to trademark it, accusing them of ripping off his famous nickname. The United States Patent and Trademark Office shut down Kobe's motion for summary judgment, asking for them to void High-Tech's trademark applications. They said the case would move forward and the parties would go to trial. They believe the evidence shows there is still much to be determined. So that was Yahoo. Now, I know there's some conspiracy theorists out there. I don't necessarily believe this, but now listen to this other story, which is really, really weird, and not from such an accredited site like Yahoo. So I'll let you guys look at it and tell me what you think. Here we go. Asian Indian fentanyl pusher. Kobe sued, sent to federal prison 3 days before a helicopter crash. American businessman Kobe Bryant's death on January 26 came 3 days after the Indian immigrant fentanyl dealer and racketeer he was suing was sent to federal prison for 5.5 years. John Kapoor was a major investor in the high-tech pharma company Bryant sued in 2017 for branding the Black Mamba nickname he used since the beginning of his NBA career. Bryant's claim against Kapoor was dismissed, but it didn't die before he accused the Indian immigrant fentanyl dealer of putting an illegal substance in his dietary supplements. Federal authorities sentenced Kapoor and his co-defendants on January 23, 2020 at 2:30 p.m. for racketeering. Some of the claims the FBI made against Kapoor in their indictment were inserted in Bryant's litigation. John N. Kapoor was born in India and immigrated to the U.S. He didn't bring high skills or a high value to the nation as a college student on a scholarship he took from an American citizen. Instead of loving this nation's people, he poisoned them with fentanyl to become a 1.8 billionaire and used rapper Kendrick Lamar to help him. Jurors during Kapoor's criminal trial were shown a video of parodied songs written by American recording artist Kendrick Lamar with Drake and 2 Chainz, A$AP Rocky, Steven Shebeb, and Major Static that his company's sales reps parodied to promote Kapoor's fentanyl product to doctors he was bribing to overprescribe the addictive and deadly drug to other Americans at the same time Bryant was suing his companies. The parody was titled Great by Choice and included the following lyric: I love titration, yeah, that's not a problem. I got new patients, and I got a lot of them. Building relationships that are healthy. Got more dots than Janelle's got selfies. Titration is a process of measuring a patient's weight to determine the right dose of medication. The problem with patient weights today in medical personnel is medical personnel are too lazy to ask patients to disrobe to get true weights. So they're estimating the person's weight based on some uniform calculation of what they think a fully clothed person's clothes weigh. The purpose of the video was to encourage more doctors to prescribe the unsafe fentanyl spray COP-ARAZZI sold to Americans with no regard for how it would affect their health. He sought entry into the world's billionaires club, and care for money outweighed care for Americans. The United States Department of Justice, in its indictment of Kapoor and his Russian-American Insice sales team, charged the company with lying to the Food and Drug Administration about the test and safety of their products. According to the Justice Department, every manufacturer of a new drug was required to obtain approval of a new drug application from the United States Food and Drug Administration before introducing its new drug into interstate commerce, unless subject to an exemption not applicable here. To obtain approval of the NDA, the manufacturer had to demonstrate to the FDA that the new drug was safe and effective for its intended uses. Labeling on the drug also had to be truthful, accurate, and non-misleading. Kapoor and his team lied on everything and committed wire fraud when they mailed documents to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. An indictment was used against Kapoor and the Russian Americans in his crime gang out of Massachusetts. U.S. Attorney's Office, a superseding indictment was issued against his organized crime associates. Federal authorities were happy with the offending Indian immigrant who disrespected this nation's hospitality and ruined American lives. 400,000 Americans died of fentanyl overdoses, and the numbers dramatically increased after the evil and ungrateful alien joined the pharmaceutical market in 2012. Here is a clip of one of Kapoor's company's hip-hop parodies he used to sell his products.
And I got a lot of I love titrations.